Your Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, Your Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the State of Qatar, Heads of State, Heads of Government, First Ladies, Ministers, distinguished guests, and dear friends, a very warm welcome to the Doha Forum. I'm Rida Fakhri, and it is my honor to be back here in Doha for the forum's 22nd edition, as we continue to build on its long tradition of dialogue, diplomacy, and diversity. But dialogue, diplomacy, and diversity aren't enough in a world that seems addicted to divisions and dysfunction. This year's theme is the innovation imperative. In a world that is changing at a dizzying speed, our global system is struggling to keep up. Many of our institutions are failing to adapt. Our system keeps blinking red. The warnings are deafening, yet we find ourselves stuck in an endless cycle of repetition, of comfort, of stagnation. From the global north to the global south, there is a real crisis of faith and trust in our institutions. As we face so many common challenges and dangers and stand on the precipice of several regional wars and conflicts from the Middle East to the Sahel region to Europe, it has become imperative to find new ways, new approaches to solve our problems, our differences, our crises. Simply put, we must innovate in order to adapt, to survive, in order to make it. The choice is stark: innovate or face irrelevance in a world that does not wait for anyone. As H.G. Wells, the famous author, famously wrote in 1945, at a momentous crossroads in our history, adapt or perish, now as ever, is nature's inexorable imperative. It is no longer an option. The world is constantly changing, and those who do not want to be left behind simply have to change with it. This is an opportunity to disrupt the status quo, to go outside of our comfort zones, to find, or better still, to create new, innovative ways to solve some of the world's urgent existential issues. But how do we apply the power of innovation to the most pressing challenges we face? From wars and conflicts to climate and security to the global order itself, how do we shift to a more open, collaborative, cross-cultural model of innovation? How do we turn endless talk into measurable progress for all? Because frankly, the world is drowning in talk. It's bold action that we so desperately need. So as we convene once again to rethink and reimagine the world not as it is, but as it can and should be, we must have the courage, determination, and bold vision to try new approaches, to fix the glaring inequalities of our system, norms, and institutions, to ask ourselves, are the organizations that represent us today still fit for purpose? To dare to disrupt and reinvent, not carry on with business as usual. It takes creativity and resilience to propel ourselves into a more promising, shared future for all nations, big and small. What happens if we do not try? What will replace the current world order if we wait too long to reshape a long, outdated, anachronistic system? Do we sit back and accept the shortcomings of our global order? Do we stay idle? Can we afford the luxury of inaction in a world on fire? Do we remain silent, settle for more of the same? Do we sit back and simply wait for change to happen? Do we step back into safety, or do we step forward into growth? As Steve Jobs once said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So are we ready to be crazy enough to challenge the status quo, or will we keep playing it safe while the world spins out of control? So once again, we meet here in Doha, not just to talk and brainstorm and network, but to take action. Let's make this moment a moment for disruption and constructive engagement. Many of the world's leading think tanks and media organizations are here. They've partnered with the Doha Forum to make this a global platform for dialogue, collaboration, and action. But partnerships and platforms mean nothing without bold steps and courageous decisions. So are we ready to take them? The Forum is proud to have the continued support of its sponsor, the Qatar Investment Authority. It is also grateful to its travel partner, Qatar Airways. Without much further ado, I would like to invite to the stage to open the 22nd Doha Forum, His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the State of Qatar. Your Excellency.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صاحب السمو الشيخ تميم بن حمد آل ثاني أمير البلاد حفظه الله، أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في دولة قطر، حيث نحتفي معكم بانعقاد النسخة 22 من منتدى الدوحة. هذا المنتدى الذي تجاوز كونه فضاء لتبادل وجهات النظر ليصبح منصة عالمية لجمع القادة ومواجهة التحديات العالمية وإعادة تعريف الحلول في زمن تتشابك فيه التحديات وتتعقد فيه المسارات. ففي عالم تسارعت فيه الأحداث وتعاظمت فيه الأزمات بشكل غير مسبوق، علينا العودة إلى المبادئ الأساسية مع ابتكار حلول جديدة للسلام والاستقرار والتنمية. ومن هنا أتى خيارنا لشعار منتدى الدوحة لهذا العام حتمية الابتكار، إدراكاً منا لعمق التحديات التي تواجه الإنسانية وحاجة العالم إلى رؤية جديدة تستشرف المستقبل وتواجه الواقع بفاعلية. فالعودة إلى الحقائق الجوهرية ثم معالجة المشكلات المستعصية بروح إبداعية أصبحت حاجة ملحة. ولقد أثبتت التجارب السابقة أن التمسك بالنهج التقليدي في التعامل مع الأزمات المستعصية لن يؤدي إلا إلى إعادة إنتاج التحديات ذاتها وربما تفاقمها. ولذا فلا بد من التوجه نحو حلول مبتكرة لمختلف القضايا الأساسية السياسية منها والأمنية والبيئية وغيرها، بدءاً من الأسباب الجذرية مع مراعاة المبادئ والاستفادة من الأدوات المتاحة واستكشاف الفرص التي توفرها التقنيات الناشئة. الحضور الكريم، نجتمع اليوم والعالم يقف على مفترق طرق مصيري، إما الاستسلام لدوامة العنف التي تعصف بالعديد من المناطق في أنحاء العالم بما فيها منطقتنا هذه، وإما ابتكار أساليب وحلول جديدة تضمن ليس فقط إنهاء العنف الراهن فحسب، بل تعمل على تأسيس أرضية صلبة للسلام المستدام والازدهار العادل الذي يضمن الاستقرار للأجيال القادمة. ولا شك أن ما نشهده في غزة اليوم يمثل نموذجاً صارخاً لهذه الدوامة العنيفة ومأساة إنسانية غير مسبوقة، بل إبادة جماعية تجري أمام أعيننا سيكون لها تداعيات خطيرة تهدد استقرار المنطقة بأكملها، والتي ظهرت في أبرز صورها في لبنان، مما يدفعنا إلى توجيه أسئلة جوهرية حول فاعلية الأساليب التقليدية في التعاطي مع النزاعات، وتزداد هذه الأسئلة إلحاحاً مع مرور كل يوم. السيدات والسادة، تستمر المأساة الإنسانية في غزة وتمتد تداعياتها إلى لبنان وسوريا، مما يحتم بذل كل جهد ممكن لوضع حد فوري لها. ولقد أثبتت تجربة الهدنة المؤقتة التي تحققت بجهود وساطة مشتركة من دولة قطر وجمهورية مصر العربية والولايات المتحدة، وأدت إلى إطلاق سراح الرهائن وتخفيف المعاناة الإنسانية، إمكانية نجاح العمل الدبلوماسي متى ما توفرت الإرادة اللازمة. وتعزز هذا النجاح بإنجازات أخرى لدولة قطر كلم شمل الأطفال المتأثرين بالحرب الروسية الأوكرانية مع ذويهم، مما يقدم نموذجاً علمياً لقدرة الدبلوماسية المبتكرة على تحقيق نتائج ملموسة. إن هذه النجاحات تعكس رؤيتنا في التعامل مع الأزمات بنظرة شمولية تتمحور حول الإنسان وتستوعب الصراع من جوانبه المختلفة، الإنسانية والاقتصادية والسياسية والميدانية، وتبحث في الحلول الجزئية التي تقود إلى معالجة شاملة، وتقسم جذور الصراع ومسبباته إلى ملفات يمكن التعامل معها. ولقد أظهرت الأزمات المتلاحقة حجم الفجوة بين الأساليب والمنظومات التقليدية من جهة، والتحديات المعاصرة المتسارعة من جهة أخرى. فالعالم اليوم في أمس الحاجة إلى مؤسسات مطورة للتعاون الدولي تتجاوز الأطر التقليدية وتعتمد مبادئ العدالة والشمولية مع الاستفادة من أدوات العصر الرقمي. الحضور الكريم، لا بد لنا من وقفة جادة وصريحة أمام متغيرات عصرنا، فنحن نعيش في عصر يشهد تقدماً تكنولوجياً هائلاً، وتأتي هذه التقنيات المتقدمة التي يزخر بها عصرنا رغم إمكاناتها الهائلة بتحديات وتهديدات ناشئة، مثل إمكانية إساءة استخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي والتمويل الرقمي والمركبات الجوية والبحرية غير المأهولة، وغيرها من التقنيات والابتكارات الجديدة. ولذلك ينبغي اتخاذ كل ما يمكن من أجل ضمان أن تظل هذه التقنيات أدوات لدفع عجلة التطور الاقتصادي ووسائل لتعزيز السلام ورفاه الإنسان. غير أن المفارقة المؤلمة تكمن هنا: كيف يمكن لعالم يتباهى بإنجازاته التقنية أن يقف عاجزاً أمام معاناة المدنيين في مناطق النزاع؟ وكيف لمجتمع دولي يتحدث عن الابتكار أن يفشل أو يعجز عن إيجاد آليات فعالة لحماية الأرواح وضمان وصول المساعدات الإنسانية؟ الحضور الكريم، إن حضوركم في هذا المنتدى من صناع القرار والمبتكرين والمفكرين وقادة المجتمع المدني يؤكد إيماننا العميق بأن الحلول المبتكرة تنبع من تفاعل الأفكار وتكامل الرؤى والخبرات. فمنتدى الدوحة ليس مجرد منصة للحوار فحسب، بل يمثل منبراً للإبداع ومختبراً للأفكار الخلاقة ونقطة انطلاق للحلول المبتكرة التي نحتاجها اليوم. نحن قادرون على تعزيز الارتكاز على أسسنا الأخلاقية وإيجاد حلول لتحديات اليوم بفكر متجدد ورؤية مبتكرة. ففي زمن التحولات الكبرى لم يعد التجديد خياراً، بل أضحى ضرورة وجودية للبقاء والتقدم. والحاجة كما يقال هي أم الاختراع، ليس فقط في مجالات العلوم والهندسة، بل في صناعة السلام والعمل الدبلوماسي أيضاً. فالمؤسسات والدول التي تتمسك بأساليب الماضي وأدواته ستجد نفسها خارج دائرة التأثير في مجريات الأحداث وتطوراتها. غير أن الابتكار الحقيقي يجب أن يظل موجهاً لخدمة الإنسانية جمعاء، ساعياً نحو تحقيق السلام والعدالة والرخاء للجميع دون استثناء. أدعوكم في هذا المنتدى إلى استكشاف آفاق جديدة للعمل المشترك، فمستقبلنا راهن بقدرتنا على الابتكار في سبيل السلام والتنمية المستدامة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for highlighting so many of the important reasons we are all gathered here today. to do more and to do more in different ways to prevent another painful chapter in our history, like the one unfolding today in Gaza before our own eyes. One of the key drivers of the Doha Forum is to inspire in us the ability to act as catalysts for change. Every year, the Forum recognizes and honors the work of vital organizations and courageous individuals who not only dream about doing things to make life better for their communities, but who actually do it, especially in these difficult times of war and conflict. This year, the Doha Forum is shining a light on the work of 6 individuals who have each left an indelible mark, not just on our mobile phones and screens, but on the world's conscience, despite their own personal losses and deep challenges. They have done it through their brave and unflinching dedication to the pursuit of the truth, and through their unwavering commitment to their own profession and the ideals which it represents. They've also done it for the memory and the sacrifices of their colleagues who were less fortunate than them.
Journalists, all of us wearing flak jackets and helmets, everyone clearly marked as a member of the press. When I got to her, I knew immediately that I had to stop her bleeding as quickly as possible. And then again, we were hit. This time by an even larger explosion.
What happened? I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs.
This year's Doha Forum is a tribute to these 6 journalists and photographers who have documented some of the most painful and defining moments of our time. It's also a recognition for the sacrifices that so many have done. It is the 4th annual award of the Doha Forum, and again this year, it couldn't have gone to more worthy recipients. The prize money will be donated on behalf of the awardees to the Rory Peck Trust, which is an international non-profit organization that supports freelance reporters, particularly on issues of mental health following their deployments in conflict zones. It is now my distinct honor to invite to the stage to present the 2024 Doha Forum Award to the awardees, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar. We are fortunate to have with us this year's 6 recipients who will accept the award from the Emir. Please welcome Wael Al-Dahdouh, a Palestinian journalist and bureau chief of Al Jazeera in Gaza. Many of you recognize Wael, a symbol of commitment and resilience. He continued to report on air, live, every minute, every day from Gaza amid the ruins and the devastation, and following his personal loss, the loss of his wife and son, and so many others. Warm congratulations to Wa'el Al Dahdouh. May I invite to the stage our second recipient, Motaz Azaiza, a Palestinian photojournalist from Gaza whose body of work over the last year or more has drawn a huge following on social media. He has become to millions of people around the world the eyes and ears of Palestinians in his hometown of Gaza. His photographs have captured every raw and heart-wrenching moment of this horrific war. And here he is to accept his award. Congratulations to Motaz. And may I now invite to the stage Carmen Joukhadar, a Lebanese journalist working with Al Jazeera. She was injured in Israel's shelling of southern Lebanon last year, despite, as you saw in the film, being clearly identified as a member of the press. Carmen has been a journalist and news reporter for 15 years, based in Beirut. Mabruk to Carmen. On to our next awardee, Dylan Collins, the chief video journalist in Beirut for the French news agency Agence France Presse, AFP. Based in the Middle East for the last 15 years, he is fluent in Arabic. He was wounded by shell fire while covering cross-border clashes in South Lebanon. He also suffered an injury while on assignment in Ukraine. Congratulations to Dylan. Our next awardee is Sadaf Popalzai, an Afghan journalist working as a presenter and host for various programs in Afghanistan. She is the manager of 2 radio stations in her native country, where she continues to play a significant role in the media industry. Congratulations to Sadaf. And last but not least, Christina Asi, a Lebanese photojournalist and photo editor with AFP. Christina was severely wounded in an Israeli tank shell attack in October 2023 while reporting from South Lebanon. Some of you will remember her. She participated in the 2024 Olympic torch relay in Paris as she honored the journalists killed or wounded in the field. Warm congratulations to Christina. May I now ask all of the awardees to please join His Highness the Emir for a group photo in recognition of the extraordinary work that you all do. Thank you very much indeed, Your Highness. May I ask you to please retake your seat, Your Highness. Many thanks for presenting these awards to these worthy recipients, highly deserved and highly achieved awards at this Doha Forum. Now, while all of these award recipients take their place on stage, may I invite our moderator of the next session to join them on the stage, Yalda Hakim, a journalist who has covered so many hotspots around the world, previously with the BBC, now with Sky News. Yalda, welcome. Every one of these award winners, Yalda, true role models, aren't they, for aspiring journalists, the younger generation of journalists who look up to them and the work they do.
Absolutely.
the epitome of courage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a great honor to be on this stage with these extraordinary journalists who, as we've seen, have been bearing witness and have been a window for the world to the horrors that we've seen globally, but of course in this region as well. I'd like to begin with you, Wael, because of course it's difficult to sum up what you've been through in the past year. You've been covering the situation in Gaza for decades, but the last year has been different. You've lost colleagues, you've lost your wife, your daughter, your son, your grandson, your brother's children, and only hours after burying them, you went straight back to work and appeared on camera. Can you tell me why?
يعني أولاً أود أن أبدأ بالتحية لسمو الأمير تميم بن حمد وأصحاب المعالي والقامات، وشكراً أولاً على هذا التكريم الذي أعتبره هو تكريم لكل الزملاء الصحفيين، ليس لي لوحدي، للشهداء على وجه التحديد، للزميل إسماعيل الغول وللزميل الرفيق سامر أبو دقة ولنجلي البكر الزميل أيضا حمزة الدحدوح، ولكل الشهداء والجرحى والمعتقلين، لزملاء الذين ما زالوا يقومون بالواجب والمهمة رغم كل الصعوبات والمحن التي يكابدونها. وأنا شخصيا أعتبر أن هذا التكريم من دولة قطر وسمو الأمير هو التكريم الثاني. هذا هو التكريم الأول. التكريم الأول كان عندما تلقيت رسالة من سمو الأمير تميم وسمو الأمير الوالد، وبطبيعة الحال من سعادة الشيخ حمد بن ثامر، في لحظة كانت فارقة بكل ما تحمله الكلمة من معنى. كانت لحظة استثنائية صعبة وحساسة وموجعة أيضا. ليس سهلا على الإنسان عندما يكون صحفيا يعتقد ويتحفز للقيام بمهمته بكامل طاقته حتى يعلم الناس ما الذي يدور في منطقة كقطاع غزة. هي منطقة محاصرة لكنها الآن مدمرة، تتعرض إلى حرب إبادة. كصحفي يستحوذ تفكيرك ويسيطر عليه أنك تقوم بمهمة صحفية، هذا صحيح، لكن أيضا تقوم بواجب، لأنه في نهاية المطاف هناك ملايين الناس ينتظرون روايتك للأحداث، ينتظرون المعلومات التي سوف تنشرها للناس، ينتظرون الصورة التي هناك محاولات حثيثة ومحمومة لخنق وقتل هذه الصورة في مهدها على الأرض. هذا الأمر ليس سهلا أن تكون بهذه الدافعية والحافز، وفي نفس الوقت في لحظة ما تتوقف الحياة، يتوقف الزمن عندما يأتيك اتصالا وأنت على الهواء مباشرة تقوم بالواجب بأنه الأسرة استهدفت. تنتقل إلى المكان، تجد المكان مبعثرا، الدمار، الظلام، لا أحد موجود. أين الزوجة؟ أين الأولاد؟ أين الأحفاد؟ أين الأقارب؟ لا أحد. هناك ركام وظلام وغبار ورائحة بارود فقط هو الذي تجده في هذا المكان. هنا الزمن يتوقف والتحديات تكون هي سيدة الموقف بالنسبة لك كصحفي وكإنسان أيضا، ولكن في نهاية المطاف يتوجب عليك أن تقبل هذا التحدي، وهذا يضيف عليك مسؤوليات، يضيف عليك تعقيدات وأعباء ربما ليست واردة في الحسبان، ربما لا يستطيع الجميع تحمل هذه التحديات. الآن عليك أن تجيب عن سؤال حقيقي وجدي وواقعي: ما الذي ستفعله؟ الآن الأسرة أصبحت ممزقة، مبعثرة، ما بين شهيد جريح، من تبقى منهم يحتاج إلى رعاية، يحتاج إلى مسؤولية الأب التي افتقدها أصلاً خلال سنوات من هذا العمل. وعليك أن تقرر هل ستنحاز إلى الأسرة وهذا واجب وحق أصيل، أم أنك ستنحاز إلى إتمام وإكمال هذه المهمة الإنسانية. وأعتقد بأنه بدون تردد كانت الإجابة بالنسبة لي سوف أكمل الطريق مهما كانت التبعات. أعتقد بأن أغلى ثمن يمكن أن تدفعه كصحفي وكإنسان قد دفعته سلفاً. ولذلك ما الذي يعني أن تنحاز إلى خيمة وتأوي إلى بعض ما تبقى من الأسرة أو على سرير مستشفى أو ما شابه ذلك؟ هذا لا يعني شيء، سيعني شيئاً واحداً، أنك خسرت هذا التحدي وخسرت الأحبة. هذا تحصيل حاصل. ولذلك كان من بين أهم الأشياء التي دفعتني إلى المواصلة وإلى القيام بهذا الواجب واستمرار هذه المهمة بالتأكيد هؤلاء، دماؤهم، وجعهم، ألمهم، قصتهم، هذا أكيد، لأن هؤلاء أيضاً ضحوا من أجلي ومن أجل هذا الشعب ومن أجل هذه القضية. ضحوا لأنهم تخلوا عن دوري كأب وكرمزية وكقوة وكمصدر للأمان. كل هذا تخلوا عنه من أجل أن أقوم أنا بالمهمة. عندما تسفح دماؤهم بهذا الشكل ويتم قتلهم بهذا الشكل، لا يجوز أبداً أن نضعف، لا يجوز أبداً أن ننزوي ونتوارى وننسحب ونختفي من المشهد الإعلامي. هذا لا يجوز أبداً وغير موجود في عرفنا. وبالتالي كانت الإجابة هو أننا سوف نكمل هذه المهمة. لكن كانت هناك صعوبات إضافية. الآن لديك بنات وطفل تبقوا جرحى، كيف ستقنعهم بأنه الآن بعد ذهاب الأم أنه أنت لن تكون معهم، لن تكون بجوارهم، ستتركهم على سرير المستشفى وتذهب إلى إكمال العمل؟ صارحتهم، لا أخفيكم بأنني صارحتهم، وحتى في هذه اللحظات قالوا لي: نحن معك، سنموت معا أو نواصل معا. وهذا شيء يعني لا أخفيكم بأنه أعطاني كثير من القوة للمواصلة. بالتأكيد أيضا الرواية التي كانت تخرج من قطاع غزة، وكانت ربما الرواية القليلة المتبقية في القطاع التي كنا نقوم بها، هناك ملايين في أرجاء المعمورة ينتظرون هذه الرواية وهذا الصوت وهذه الرسالة. وهذا حملنا مسؤولية كبيرة وكبيرة جدا، ولذلك كان لزاما علينا أن نواصل هذه المهمة. طبعا بعد الإيمان بالله سبحانه وتعالى والرضا بقضائه وقدره، كنا نعود في كل مرة عندما استهدفت الأسرة، وعندما دمر البيت، وعندما دمر المكتب، وعندما استهدفت أنا شخصيا واستشهد زميلي الرفيق سامر أبو دقة، وعندما أيضا استشهد ولدي حمزة. في كل مرة كان نفس السؤال، وكان نفس الوجع، وكان نفس الألم، وكانت نفس الحسرة، وكانت نفس الإجابة ونفس الموقف، وهي العودة أمام الكاميرا وأمام الميكروفون. والأهم من وجهة نظري أن تكون عودة متوازنة، مهنية، قوية، لا عواطف فيها، وإنما استمرار لهذا الدور الإنساني النبيل ليصل إلى العالم بكامل المهنية. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you so much, Wael, for the service that you have given, and you've really given new meaning to courage, bravery, and service to journalism. Motaz, you and I have spoken in the past, soon after you left Gaza. The Committee to Protect Journalists has said that this is one of the most dangerous and deadliest years in journalism because of the number of journalists that have been killed in Gaza. I mean, like Wael, you too have experienced loss of your family, your friends, and you continue to cover the conflict there.
First, thank you, Elda. I want to take a few seconds to take Your Highness, Your Excellency Sheikh Mohammed, and every Qatari citizen for their support and help for me to connect and reach the world to speak about my cause and the ongoing genocide in Gaza. So thank you from my heart. What CBJ talk about is they have a few numbers. It's not the accurate number because now in Gaza, who's on the ground, it's the citizen journalists, more than the official journalists. Yeah, because we experienced the whole things from the first days, and a lot of who was on the ground, who got injured, he evacuated with his family. So most of them now who are just like the citizen journalists with a few official journalists for the TV channels. So now the number of journalists who got killed, more than 180. In day 60 in Gaza City, I asked for international protection for myself because I start to receive phone calls from no caller ID to tell me what to do or not to do, where to go, or you should show something else, and you may lose your life. And also the threats and the bombing in my neighbor and the loss of my relatives, more than 25. So it was all challenging for you to continue your work on the ground. And in the last days, it's not about just showing the world. It's about to survive, because days before I leave, the Israeli tanks was at the end of my street. And it's now you should work to find water, food, a tent to use if they invaded your area, what you will do. And your house is now not your house. It's like a shelter for more than 40 people. And every house also like in Gaza. I'm living now in Deir al-Balah, and more than 1,800,000 people now in this area. We used to have just 50,000 people in this area, which was so crowded. Imagine now more than 1,800,000 people, and they just all on the beach with their tents. And now it's winter, and there is no there's no access for clean water. There is no access for medicine. There is no access for flour to eat. And now it's winter. So it's not only just about you as a journalist, it's about your life. Because you're not just an international journalist who do your mission and leave and you get paid, that's it. No, it's your home. What is happening, it's happening to your family, to your friends. Like I'm a journalist, but I lost 16 of my friends. And during my work on the ground, you go to document something, you find your friends under the rubble. So should I just document them, or should I leave my camera on the side and try to grab them from under the rubble, because there is no machines with the civil defense? So it's unimaginable situation for journalists. You can't be just a journalist there.
Motaz, thank you so much. Christina, Carmen. Christina, Carmen, Dylan, you were all in southern Lebanon together. We saw on the video when there was an attack. And Christina, you are now living with those injuries. Just tell us about that moment, that day. I mean, I think us journalists, we go to places and we don't assume that something is going to happen. You do feel protected.
First of all, let me start by saying thank you to Your Highness and to Qatar. I grew up here. I lived for 15 years here, so it means a lot to receive this recognition from Qatar, who I consider my second homeland. October 13 it still feels surreal. It was such a horrific day. However, everything was calm at first. There was no danger. We felt safe because we weren't really at the front line. Everything that was happening, it was happening in Gaza, on the other side. So we felt safe, especially that we followed all precautions. Unfortunately, little did we know that we will be attacked twice, and after the 2 attacks with a machine gun as well, which feels like a Hollywood movie in a way. We lost our dear friend Aysam Abdallah, who's also a Reuters journalist, and I am here today because he took all the impact, and that's how I managed to survive, even though I had 50% chance of living, and I was 2 weeks in induced coma. It's been a year, I'm still in a wheelchair, and I still need another year to start walking. However, I just can't wait for that day, because that's how we will get back our justice. As our colleagues... Thank you. As Mu'taz and Wael were saying, when something that bad and extreme happens to you, you have 2 options. Either you give up and you say, okay, right now I'm a victim and that's it. My entire life changed. Or you keep fighting until the day you actually stand up, hold your camera, and do what you love. Because that's our duty and that's our job. We didn't choose to become journalists just for the fame. I personally was behind the camera, and I really don't like being in front of the camera. But after what happened to us, I felt like there's a need to keep speaking up, sharing our story for me, for us, for Aysam, and all our colleagues who've been targeted this year while they were asleep, or their families, like in different horrific ways. Thank you again for this recognition. It means a lot, and hopefully next year I will be walking. Thank you.
Thank you. And Carmen, you went back to work very, very soon after the attack. Tell me about that.
Well, before talking about the comeback, thank you, Your Highness, for the award. Thank you for bringing us all together in the Doha Forum. It means a lot to me. This award means a lot to me because this is an acknowledgement for all the work and contribution that I've done during the coverage since October 7 with Al Jazeera. Certainly, I couldn't have done that without Al Jazeera's support, without the support of Your Excellency, Mr. Sheikh Hamad bin Thamir Al Thani. Well, actually, since day one, since I was at the hospital, I got the question, are you coming back? And I said, I just need the doctor's approval. And it was so clear for me. I don't see myself as a victim. I don't see myself as a survivor. I'm a journalist. I was attacked because I'm a journalist. And I will come back to the field as a journalist, respecting all the norms, all the values. And the comeback was very meaningful, not only for me, but for the people. Whenever they see me, they're like run to tell me their stories. And a few days ago, I was like surrounded by the rubble in the south of Lebanon. And those stories we heard, the attacks we witnessed for like 14 months, it was huge. And the loss, I mean, I cannot even describe the loss we witnessed, we saw actually during these 14 months. When I chose being a journalist, for me, this is not a job. For me, this is like even more than a career you choose. This is a way of life. This is a way of perceiving things. You know, journalists see things differently than others do. So coming back to the field, and especially with what happened in the last 3 months in Lebanon, was extremely important for me, was extremely important to put up in front of everybody the truth, to give voice to those voiceless, and to say, nobody can tame my voice. And especially when our footage from the south of Lebanon, when the Israelis used the white phosphorus, this footage was asked by international NGOs investigating in this usage. And they used Al Jazeera's footage from several places, and it was a very important document. Now we're documenting, we're informing people, each and every one of us, about what's happening, either in the south of Lebanon or in Gaza. It's the same for all of us. And there's another side. When you see all your colleagues being killed, being targeted, for example, Eli Brachia, the cameraman who was with me, got injured, and I didn't have the chance to think but to help him and save him and to take him to the hospital. This is the only thought I had. And when we were covering this war in the last few months, in October, our colleagues were sleeping. They killed 3 of them, and others got injured as well. So this didn't stop. And I know it's hard to change the reality. It's so hard for us to change the reality. But we need to document this. We need to say no for this. Impunity should stop. And stopping the impunity starts with each and every step every single one of us does. From our perspective as journalists, we need to document these atrocities, especially for civilians. They need to be heard, and their stories need to be heard. So this is the major role for us. It's going to be hard for us. It's going to be hard for our families, of course, but this is a choice you make. And thankfully, my family respect this choice and support me. So I will continue covering.
Thank you.
And I will never stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dylan, you were injured on that day in October in southern Lebanon, but you were also injured in Ukraine when you were covering the war in those early days. And we mustn't forget the journalists there, the local journalists who continue to cover that conflict and continue to be in the line of fire.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd just like also to thank the State of Qatar and Your Highness Amir for the generous gift and for this recognition. It's a huge honor. Yeah, I was wounded about 3 months before we were hit in October on the outskirts of Bakhmut by a Russian Lancet drone. And I guess what this past year has really underlined for me is just how dangerous our job can be. I lost several friends in Ukraine. I lost several friends in Gaza. I lost friends in Lebanon. I think sadly, it's never been more dangerous of a time to be a journalist. We've watched this press vest, this label of press on our chest. It's supposed to protect us, and it's sadly turned us into a target. We've seen more than 100 journalists in Gaza targeted by Israeli strikes and killed. I'm a cameraman. I'm not super comfortable talking, but I think what I do know is that when they're trying to turn your cameras off, it means that there's something worth covering. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you. And finally, Sadaf, you've just arrived from Kabul. You said that it's one of the first time you've left the country, and it's increasingly difficult not just to be a journalist in Afghanistan, but a woman in Afghanistan with so many restrictions. Just talk us through briefly about some of the challenges that you face.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank for Qatar and also the Emir of Qatar, also organizer of these events. Yeah, that's my first time that I leave Kabul or Afghanistan and coming here. Because of that, I say thank for all of you to support us, and also member of Movie Group, special leadership and management of Movie Group to support us. That's not easy to us to work in this situation, but I want to say something. Don't about just my own problems or situation. I just say about my country. And also, we know about situation of Afghanistan. I know all of them is involved in situation of Afghanistan, and they know everything about Afghanistan. In this event, I just say them, don't forget Afghanistan and people of Afghanistan. Also, in this situation, I like to say we need support. We need to be in the world and be alive. Also, just we want that organizations or the countries they support Afghans, not just something special or someone special. Just don't forget Afghanistan peoples. You know about situation or about challenging, about uh, everything that's going in Afghanistan. And thank you for you and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please thank our very brave journalists for speaking to us about their stories. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Yelda, and thank you to all the award recipients, Mahmoud, Mu'taz, Dylan, Carmen, Sadaf, and Christina. And once again, congratulations. Such inspiring words, such bravery, such grit. Next, a keynote speaker who needs absolutely no introduction, but I will still attempt a short one. She is a community college educator, a teacher, and an author. And if you still wonder who she is, here's another hint. Back in 1977, when she married a certain senator from Delaware, who would go on to become the 46th President of the United States, she said that she knew it would be a life in the spotlight that she had never sought or wanted, and she was right. First, as second lady for 8 years, and then as first lady for 4 years, and of course, First Lady of the United States, that is, she has had a lifetime in the spotlight, and she has put it to good use to focus on all the issues that are closest to her heart, from education to health. While urging Americans after the recent election to put their disunity behind them and to unite for a brighter future. Please welcome Dr. Jill Biden.
Good morning. Your Highness, it is an honor to be here with you. And I have been overwhelmed by the generosity and warm welcome that you and the people of Qatar have shown me on my visit. On behalf of my husband, the President Biden, and Joe, thank you for your kindness and your warm welcome here on my visit. And I'm glad to be with so many heads of state and leaders from across the globe here in Doha. Yesterday, I visited the Qatar Foundation, which has a magnificent view of Education City. Looking out at all the world-renowned learning institutions, I thought of the incredible minds and cultures and ideas coming together. And I appreciate Her Highness Sheikh Mosa's leadership in an area we both deeply care about, education. As First Lady, I continue to teach writing at a community college. And in my classes, we talk about stories and how our stories shape our world. The stories can divide us. They can isolate us and make us fearful. But stories can also help us to connect us to one another and inspire us to join hands for a better future. That's the story unfolding on the campus of Weill Cornell Medicine here in Qatar. innovation through cooperation. Yesterday, I met a medical student who is studying why the risk of ovarian cancer goes up with a particular gene mutation. Another student is designing a surgical device that can clean the lens of a camera during an operation without removing it from the patient's body. That will make surgeries more precise. It's promising work. But what fills me with even more hope is meeting with people who are powering those discoveries. Students from Qatar and countries from around the world at an American academic institution located right here in Doha, uncovering health breakthroughs that have the potential to improve people's lives in this region and globally. This year's Doha Forum is focused on innovation imperative. I believe the first imperative for innovation is cooperation. People of all backgrounds and expertise working side by side, creating something better than we could have alone. As First Lady of the United States, I have had the opportunity to travel the world, from Japan to Ecuador, from Namibia to Ukraine. Everywhere I go, I am reminded that our differences are precious and our similarities infinite. Still, on those trips, there have been some who ask me, why visit a drought in Africa? Why meet with wounded warriors in the United Kingdom? Why visit refugees in Romania? But if we are reminded of anything during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is this: diseases do not recognize borders. Neither does hunger, poverty, or violence. We are all connected. Even when times are tough, we share a responsibility to come together. And whether it is fighting disease or working for peace in the region, we must bridge divides so that all people may live with dignity and security. President Biden, my husband, understands that there isn't one leader, one government, or one country that can go it alone, not in a world as interwoven as ours. The world challenges aren't only ours to endure together, they are ours to solve together. That can be this generation's story, one of cooperation, understanding, and opportunity. Consider climate change. The consequences of extreme heat, droughts, melting glaciers, and typhoons reverberate around the world. But so too could new technologies with the power to reduce carbon emissions, address water scarcity, and make communities more resilient. It will take all of us committing to change, sharing our best ideas, and creating innovations that reach everyone just as fast and as far as any wildfire or ocean wave. Another area that's ready for innovation is women's health research. Globally, women tend to live longer than men, but we spend 25% more time in poor health. Innovations are happening all around the world to close the health gap. Imagine a blood test, the first of its kind, that can reduce the time it takes for women to get a diagnosis for a debilitating disease like endometriosis. Or think about the benefits of uncovering why Alzheimer's is more common in women than in men. This work isn't just up to scientists and researchers. Governments, academia, the private sector, and NGOs all have to coordinate to make sure that the benefits of innovative research reach the people who need them. Your Highness, I am here in Doha as part of my final foreign trip as the First Lady of the United States. In the coming years and months, I will continue to help close the gap in women's health research. And as the leaders in this room will always have a partner in me to move forward life-saving and world-changing innovations that improve our world. This imperative is to join together. It is not our burden, it is our opportunity. So let us build strong partnerships and innovate our way to better health, opportunity, and prosperity for all. A brighter world can be our story to tell. So let's write it together. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Highness.
Thank you, Dr. Biden, for highlighting the many challenges that unite us all, from the world's wealthiest nation on earth to the poorest, and that require joint efforts to solve them.